One really important thing about 3D modeling is the lighting. If we don't have a good lighting system, our models aren't going to look very good. So as an example, I'll show you what a generic lighting system looks like. By default, we have just a point light, like is shown here, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll give you just a basic upgrade lighting system that we can use in some of our basic models. So if I render this, and I already have, with the lighting system that it has, just one point light, it looks like this. Now we're going to improve that with another basic lighting system. So what I'm going to first do is change this slot to slot 2. That way we can compare our renders. And so I'm going to hit escape to go back to my regular view. I'm going to delete this light. I right clicked on it and delete, and then click delete, or press delete on the mouse. Now, I'm going to put my cursor, make sure my 3D cursor is in the middle because my bowl is there, and I'm just going to stick it right on the grid. So I'm going to go to Object, Snap, Cursor to Center, puts it right there, and then I'm going to add a plane right underneath it. I'm going to scale it, S, to about the size of the grid, and I'm just going to make sure that my bowl is sitting right on top of that plane. So this is one thing that helps with lighting, is to have a ground plane. So usually we want to have that. This allows us to reflect light and have something for the bowl to be sitting on, or the model. Okay, now light. If I go to on my keypad on the right side, if I hit 1, it takes me to a front view. I can do orthographic view if I want. It's 5 on the keypad. So I'm going to put my 3D cursor, regular click right above the light, and then go to 3, which is a side view, and stick it right above the light again to make sure that it really is above the light. Now I'm going to add another plane, and I'm going to increase the size of that a little bit, scale up, and I'm going to point this is going to be my new light source. So I'm going to point it towards the bowl. So if I rotate to a front view again, number 1, and then R to rotate this plane. I'm going to go about 45 degrees. Then I'm going to hit 7 to go to a top view, rotate again about 45 degrees so that it's facing the bowl. So now the light source is facing that bowl, and that's going to help a little bit. We need to make it a light source now, so I'm going to go to my Materials tab, scroll with my mouse wheel over here, get a material. You need to make sure you're in Cycles Render. We will do most of our modeling in Cycles Render. Click New, and by default it's Diffuse, a diffuse shader on it. Now we want to change that, so I'll click right here, and I want to make an emission shader, which is going to emit light. And it's going to be white. I'll keep it at that. The strength, I'm going to increase it by about 10 times. Just because I know how to do it. I've done it before. So increasing it to 10. Now if I render this, if I just hit F12, it does a quick render. I'm on the second slot down here, so I can compare them. I'll show you that in just a minute. And the lighting looks a lot better here. A lot more light there with that emission shader of a plane. Okay, one more thing that's going to improve the lighting still. Let me get this rendered here. And I'm at about 20 samples. By default it's 10. I increased it by double just as a quick test render. If I got it to where I wanted it, I would increase it by, 2. Well, I would go to about 2 to 500 samples. So here's our first lighting, second lighting. I'm going to go to a third slot so I can compare again. Now I'm going to hit 7 to go to a top view, and I'm going to rotate this light over to here. So, but I'm not going to rotate, I'm going to move it with G on the keyboard. G is grab. I'm going to stick it right here about 45 degrees from the camera view, and then R to rotate it back towards, so it's shining toward the bowl. So here I'm going to render one more time. F12. And I move the light over so that there's a shadow. It's casting a shadow now that I can see in my camera view. And that's going to look really nice. It's a simple lighting system, but it makes a big difference. I've got a ground plane to catch some of the shadow. I've got my light over on the left side. In fact, right here it's maybe a little bit bright. It's kind of washing that out a little bit. So maybe I'll hit escape and move the plane back away from the bowl a little bit, and then re-render it. Hopefully that gets rid of that overexposure of too much light. So I've got the ground plane with casting the shadow, and I've got the shadows in the bowl, and that looks much better than what I had at first. I'll compare them here in just a second. So a simple lighting system, one shader, or one plane with an emission shader on it. There's lots of other lighting systems we can do, and we'll talk about some others, but that's a good one. With your bowl and some other simple objects, I want you to set up some lighting so that it looks good like this, rather than this right here. This is going to look much better, make your models look a lot better.